And we are back with my portion of Pro Wrestling Promoter Blunders. Now, with Peanut Gallery's ending on Hulk Hogan not getting the rub in the AWA, I'm going to do one very similar, except this is in the WWF. And it's going to be predicated on this quote. Bruno Sammartino is a mid-carder at best.
Ah, yes. Another one of those famous Vince McMahon Sr. blunders.
Total blunders. So, Vince McMahon Sr. did not think too highly of Bruno Sammartino. He thought that Bruno would have been a mid-carder for a few years, but Toots Mondt, who owned part of the WWF, convinced McMahon to build the company around him, but that decision strained Toots Mondt and Mr. McMahon Sr.'s relationship because Vince McMahon Sr. liked Buddy Rogers.
Right.
But the problem was Buddy Rogers had 2 major heart attacks backstage because that's who they took from the NWA, because at that time Buddy Rogers was the NWA World Champion. Let's sign him to our company because they were separating, and let's give him our championship with a fake tournament in Brazil, whatever. The decision was given to Sammartino because essentially he was the right place at the right time with the right person backing him, being Toots Mondt, because Toots Mondt saw, holy shit, big, strong Italian guy who survived the Holocaust, and then also he had this large Italian fan base because he wrestled in Toronto before this. And also, Mondt was one of those guys who liked to get these ethnic heroes. So he had Argentina Roca for the Brazilian fans. Then you had Pedro Morales for the Mexican fans. Same formula. The wheel was not broken. Why are you going to break it by not pushing Sammartino? With Vince McMahon Sr. and Sammartino's thing even goes back further because Sammartino left McMahon's organization back in the day to go to Canada to work under the tutelage of, oh God, what was his name? I had it here. Anyway, he saw the popularity in him because Italian Americans were going to the United States and Canada at this time.
Right.
Especially around World War II and around the Holocaust, but also Sammartino survived that. So you have this story. It's right there. And also, this is Bruno Sammartino. He was like 5'11", 270 pounds,
right.
Big muscle guy. He had charisma. Essentially the same thing as Hulk Hogan, just in the 60s. But Mondt said, put it on Sammartino, watch what happens. And guess what? They put it on Sammartino, selling out Madison Square Garden, which was hard to do back in that day.
Right.
And also Madison Square Garden was the big building. So that's why Sammartino still has a record for the most sellouts of any athlete ever. He sold it out. So I wanted to talk about this because, well, number one, I thought the transitioning from the Hulk Hogan to the Bruno Sammartino would have been kind of interesting. But just that quote, Bruno Sammartino is a mid-carder at best.
Right.
And just think of what would have happened if Mondt agreed with him and did not get his way.
Right.
I don't even think we would have been talking about WWE without Bruno Sammartino.
No, I don't think so either.
And even before Hulk Hogan.
Right.
So I think that's crazy. Going from there, we talked about Immortal. I want to talk about a particular match just because of what this bitch said. Jeff Hardy, Sting, or in my fucking great notes thing, String.
I just noticed that.
At Victory Road 2011. So I'm going to talk about this story because a lot of this is really there. So Jeff Hardy arrived at the arena that day around noon, and he was fine. But then he vanished after an hour of being there and talking to Sting. So he left. Nobody knew where he was. So Jeff Hardy can't tell anyone, because I'm not even sure if he remembers, where he was. Nobody knew who he was with, where he went, but he was not drunk. Jeff Hardy was high on somas. He was not drunk. He was actually pilled up the fuck.
Huh.
Jeff Hardy's music played for 45 seconds before Hardy actually came out because they did not know where he was. He was dragged to Gorilla, slumped in a chair as his music was playing, by the way.
Oh, jeez.
Eric Bischoff and Bruce Pritchard were running around the arena trying to find Hardy while his music was playing. Main event, boom. Hardy slumped in his chair. He got up, and he stumbled up before Pritchard and Bischoff got back. So they were still running around trying to find this guy.
Oh, God.
And so then he stumbled out of there, and it takes you a minute, but Bischoff got on the mic and told the referee, check Hardy as soon as he gets in the ring. As soon as he gets in the ring. Then the ref saw in Jeff Hardy's eyes he was gone. It's like the infamous moment that is zoomed in where Hardy was like, he was toasted.
Yeah.
And that's when the referee put up the X. Bischoff and Pritchard scrambled hard. They found Dixie Carter, who was in the... this is where we get bad. So the decision to have the match was Dixie Carter's decision.
Oh, Jesus.
So she would always watch the shows in the crowd.
Right.
And so Pritchard went to Carter telling her that Hardy is fucked, right? Utterly clueless, she said, and I quote, "Oh, Jeff is fine. He'll be okay. No problem." This is during Sting's entrance.
Oh, God.
Pritchard runs back to Bischoff, knowing that this is not going to end well if this match happens. Because you have to think, you have a pilled-up guy who has no idea what's going on.
Right.
He is not only a danger to himself and to Sting and to the referee and to the fans around.
Right.
So that was when Bischoff came out and made this the whole no disqualification stipulation because he wanted to draw the time. Carter was also pissed because of this. Bischoff told Hardy to lay down for the pin. But obviously Hardy had no idea, and Bischoff knew that. He's like, oh, shit. So that's when he went over to Sting and say, please hold him down. He literally said, please, you gotta hold him down for the 3. He's fucked. Sting was pissed off.
Right.
And so he obviously held Hardy down after the Scorpion Death Drop. Jeff Hardy was mad, obviously, because he was so pilled up, he had no idea what was happening. Sting knew that Hardy was fucked because Sting used to be in that position, left incredibly pissed off. He actually got into his car with his full face paint. He was so pissed off.
Oh, my God.
Obviously, Hardy went into rehab.
Yeah.
He came back saying, I don't expect anybody to forgive. But the infamous thing saying, the crowd was saying bullshit, and Sting turned around. I agree. Like, the fact that Carter said, Jeff is fine. And also, I don't blame Pritchard or Bischoff. They were scrambling. They were trying to figure out what the hell was going on because Hardy's music was playing and they could not find him.
Right.
Until some jobbers dragged him to Gorilla into a chair.
Right.
Nobody knew where he was. It was just a blunder because of Carter's decision.
Right.
Where you could have so easily have written something where, Sting is facing another member of Immortal.
Right.
You could have had like Bully Ray and Sting, and they probably would have done a good match.
Right.
Bully Ray was already in his gear, ready to go. I just thought that this was a great one just because of the infamy and also where Carter is. Carter came out later stating that it was most certainly a poor decision. She apologized to Sting the day after the fact. Mm-hmm. And to this day, she still is like, it was my call. I am sorry. That is my fault. So let's go into something that probably would have saved WCW.
You're right.
And once again, we're going back to Eric Bischoff because he was the one who made this call.
Right.
I'm talking about the ending of Goldberg's undefeated streak.
Okay.
So between 1997 and the day of Starrcade in 1998, Goldberg had not lost a match.
Right.
the most talked about thing in professional wrestling at this time was Goldberg. He was their saving grace.
Right.
And also, Goldberg was a homegrown talent. He was also WCW champion.
Right.
And he faced Kevin Nash at Starrcade, which is fine because I'm like, okay, good main event, whatever.
Right.
The match was a disaster. Also, so Bischoff came out later stating that it was his call. These are direct quotes from him in his podcast. We had talked about it, from what I recall, for a couple of months, as I touched on the previous shows. We were just running out of guys for Goldberg to go through.
Right.
Once we got to the point of whatever it was, 173-0, or whatever it was, and then he laughs, it was to that point where we had to start telling stories with him. We had to expand the storytelling process with Bill. We knew it had to be done.
Right.
And then here's another quote. It was probably a couple of months previous when we started discussing it and getting serious about it. In terms of, was it always going to be Nash? No. We were exploring a lot of different opportunities. Because of what was going on and the sheer size of Kevin Nash, it was the most believable and credible to tell that story. So the match was like this. So the match was, I am not fucking kidding you, like 11 minutes.
Right.
This is Starrcade. Main event with Goldberg, Kevin Nash, WCW World Champion. You would have thought that this would have gone a little bit longer, right? No, it's 11 minutes.
Oh, yeah. It's long for a Goldberg match.
Right. And Scott Hall, dressed as a security guard, zaps Goldberg with a taser or a stun gun. Nash hits the jackknife and pins Goldberg to close the show.
Right.
Now, Goldberg ending the undefeated streak had to happen at some point. Okay, fine. I put it on this list because of a couple of different things. Number one, Goldberg was white hot in the wrestling industry.
Right.
I don't believe it was the right time.
Right.
For him to end it yet.
Right.
I understand because, like, okay, he's beating everybody.
Right.
But give him the rub to, like, Nash and Hall and some of the bigger guys because, obviously, this was the right move. Kevin Nash. Number two. Kevin Nash was the one to end the streak.
Right.
Instead of giving the rub to talents like the Giant.
Right.
Who would have been believable, but he was very young in his career at this point. DDP, Eddie Guerrero, Billy Kidman, Rey Mysterio, something. And then also...
Because Kevin Nash doesn't need...
He didn't need this. He was already the big main eventer.
Right.
You could have done it for like a DDP or a Billy Kidman or even an Eddie Guerrero, where, defending against the odds, turn Goldberg heel, continue doing the undefeated streak.
Right.
That would have been cool. But then also the whole thing with Scott Hall.
Yeah, that
where instead of a straight up match, you could have done this with a straight up match.
Right.
Boom, better man. But you had to have Scott Hall stun him.
Right.
And then beat him.
Right.
That's where they fucked up.
Right.
And that's why I put it on here because I remember that moment. I'm like, it was in the Nitro documentary that WWE Network put out that this was actually pretty much the downfall of WCW too because Goldberg was so hot. Why would you pin him?
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, great little blunders. There's so many. Maybe we'll do a part 2 of this, but. Next week we're going to be doing War Games.
Yep. Next week is War Games.
And then next week we have 3 pay-per-views. We're going to have to disperse it somewhere.
Right.
And then
because that is literally the weekend that we're moving as well. So, yeah, we're going to be dispersing some of these pay-per-views just because of the move.
Right. We'll try to do Triple Mania the earliest just because that'll be the first AAA show coming back.
And we'll go from there. We'll let you guys know kind of what pay-per-views we're going to be doing. Next weekend definitely is going to be War Games.
Yes.
Plus, your usual Bible studying wrestling lessons.
Yep.
And
Yep.
That's about it. So stay tuned for information on that.
Follow us on all of our social media. So as a part of the Discord, I guess the Discord thing closed for some reason, so I will be remaking a Discord.
And then I will be added as a
moderator, right? And then we'll have like a fun little Discord where you guys can donate and do all of that stuff. I've gotten a couple of messages for it, and then join our Patreon as well.
Yes.
And then also we will be doing like a cool new setup for the show. I'm really excited about it too.
Details to be determined, but we are actually also one of the big ones, I guess, for the new show is that we are planning on bringing it back to TV for YouTube.
Yes, YouTube, and also we might be doing the show live on Twitch. Because we're still gaining a lot of people on Twitch, and a lot of people are like, "Hey, why don't you?" But
yes, we are currently in the process of getting a green screen. So
yes, we're going to be doing a cool new setup. I'm really pumped for it.
Me too.
And we will make sure we'll announce the new setup when we get there. But
look for some great new stuff to come out.
Yeah.
And as always, be
majestic.